Welcome, welcome to the championship edition or the championship reaction edition of Zooch and Wild, the very last in-season episode. Zooch, how are we doing?
Very, very sad that college football is over. I
I'm
always have
also
so much
sad.
fun all season long, and it goes by. It seems
I
like just yesterday that Michael Penix was throwing for 450 yards or whatever it was versus Boise State, and it ended with him like barely able to walk back to his
Yeah, I know. It
lecture.
looks like, I mean, we'll get into it later, but it literally looked like, you remember those like old Ben Roethlisberger hits he used to take, and it's just like, yep, every single rib is broken, and like he would be on the sideline with like a pack of ice on his ribs and like a walking boot. That's what I felt like Michael Penix was after the game, but it was a good game. I mean, we were kind of talking pre this show, and if you just looked at the box score of this game, okay, first of all, I have to address something. I got the prediction wrong, okay? Okay? But hear me out because I wasn't completely wrong, right? What did I say, Zooch? I said that if Michigan wanted to win, it needed the DBs to step up. And they did.
They
They
did.
did
They
step
played
up.
great.
I said that JJ McCarthy was not going to have an elite game. You can check the stat line. Zooch, read the stat line off to me.
It was, what'd you say, 10 of 18 for, let me pull it back,
140. 10
140?
of 18 for 140. Apparently, that guy is the number 5 QB prospect? I don't think so. Okay, one more thing about JJ McCarthy. Sorry, we have to get all like this pre stuff before we actually get into the game. So sorry, everyone. But also, JJ McCarthy, the meditation thing. Are we
Yeah,
going to talk
has,
about that?
it has to stop.
I
It's corny. I'm sorry, it's corny. It is corny no matter what people want to say. It is corny. You look like it comes across as like
It's Russell Wilson ish. If Russell Wilson did that, he would be crucified. But JJ
yeah, and
McCarthy does it and is cool.
it's one of those things where like someone's trying a little bit too hard to be cool and it just doesn't. It comes across as like cringy.
It does.
And
It does. But what I will say, it's like he wins. Like we can say whatever we want. Like he won. He made me wrong. I'm sorry, Michigan Nation. I got the game wrong because Michael Penix didn't play very well, and the
I,
offensive line for Washington decided to have a brain fart.
I honestly thought that really Washington shot themselves in the foot almost all game long. Like
They
some of
did.
it was Penix overthrowing people. Other parts were them just dropping like passes that usually they were catching. It was odd.
It was odd. I mean, yeah, let's flip over to that. I mean, we'll talk about the reasons why Michigan won the game later. But yeah, I kind of because that was what stood out to me. I think was the story of the game. It was like Washington. It looked like a completely different Washington team. I know it sounds so cliche to say, but Michael Penix missed throws that he made all year. He missed Roma Duze on that 4th and 1 that probably would have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
Completely flipped the game. He missed a couple other ones. I don't remember the play, but it was like remember the one where the tight end was on a crossing route and he like threw it, but he like Michael Penix tried to like hide from getting hit and he overthrew him, and the tight end had 20 yards in front of him. He overthrew him there.
Yeah, it was they just and like I know some people were like saying they weren't happy with the refs. It wasn't the refs. I think penalties, let me look at this to be sure, but
73 had a tough game. 73 on UW had a tough one. You know
he did.
when the
But
announcers say 73 is having a tough game and you're an offensive lineman, you never want an announcer even like recognizing a singular offensive lineman. It's
yeah,
just
no, it was that I don't really understand though. There's a lot of things in that. It was weird. I didn't understand for the life of me. I kept thinking, "Oh my god!" Like when Michigan first started off the game, I was like, "They can't stop the
oh.
run." And then it's like the second quarter started after that. The first quarter where Blake Corum had like a 60-yard touchdown run to get first and goal or whatever it was, and then they started trying to throw the ball. I like didn't understand why they went to this
It's
like, "Oh,
I
let's
thought
throw
when
it."
I thought that was happening, I thought like my prediction was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in." The tight butthole theory. I was like, something's gonna go wrong. I know it, and it just never happened because Washington could never capitalize, and that's
No,
where I failed in my assessment. I I underestimated Michigan's ability to run the football, and I overestimated Michael Penix's ability, I think. And it was weird. That's like the only game he's played like that all year, except maybe was it the Arizona State game or the Cal game that
Yeah,
was
the Arizona
close?
State he played not even I didn't even think he played overly poor. Like he didn't play good by any stretch of the imagination. That's not what I'm trying to say, but he just looked off. Like I thought, and I don't know. I almost think like Washington like tried a little bit too hard to, and I think teams do this a lot. And Michigan was guilty of it too for a little bit. And then they got back to running the ball, but dance with the one that brung you. You know what got Washington the national title? Throwing a ball, even if it wasn't working. I understand that it wasn't working at first, but the plays were open. They had guys
Hmm.
open quite a few times. Like so, and I understand I'm not coaching in the national title game, but keep your composure. And when they get to the sideline, just say like, "Hey, you know what? We had him open. Like we had Romaduze open on this play. We're going to come back to it. We're not going to change our game plan and start." Because even Michigan on that, when it was 17-3, I was like, "Damn, they can go for the kill shot right here. It's 3rd and 3." And I like told
That's what
a friend of mine, I was
I
like, "Just
I
run
know
the
the
ball twice in a row because
twice.
they can't
Run the ball
stop you."
twice.
And they
That's what
tried
I
to
would have done
throw it.
too.
I was like, "Why?" It's just confusing to me. I'm like, like you're outsmarting yourself. You're average, like legitimately, even when they stopped the run a little better in the second half, Michigan averaged, I mean, look at 8 yards a carry.
8 yards
Like,
to carry, 200-yard rushers, Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum, and just like the eye test in that game. I don't know if Washington's defensive strategy, but there were some plays where Michigan would line up, and I'd be like, "Is?" I saw the screenshot on Twitter afterwards, but I noticed it while I was watching. I was like, "Is Washington running fucking nickel right now? Nickel defense against a power eye?" I'm like, bold strategy, Cotton. Also, another funny note: has that white safety on Washington, Asa? I feel like he's been in college for 11 years.
he seems like he's been there for forever. Yeah.
Number 20. And when he missed the tackle, my brother started laughing. It's like, that guy's got to be the slowest safety to ever play in a college football playoff game. And and I said, well, you didn't. I said, well, we weren't young enough to see Nebraska in 2001. Zooch, you could probably remember
Yep.
more
The
of this
versus
game than us.
2001 Miami.
Yeah.
That is the original. Like, if Twitter existed back then, there would have been cyberbullying because that was like that's one of those things that I feel like, and I know 2001 wasn't that long ago, and ESPN and all that stuff was 24/7 by then, but you didn't have the coverage then like you do now.
Mhm.
That to me, still to this day, is the biggest mismatch in national championship history. I know there have been some like you had the TCU game last year, and when Alabama killed Notre Dame a few years, like a decade or so ago. That one, no, you just like watch that and you're like, at 0 positions is Nebraska better than, they don't have a better tight end, they don't have a better receiver, they don't have a better quarterback, nothing. Like safety, linebacker, defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, and I felt like this one wasn't even that much of a mismatch. Like, it was a
I
close
felt
game
the
up
same
until the
way.
last 5 minutes. It was, uh, I mean, if you look at the box score, of course, it looks pretty bad, 35-13 or whatever. But it was close up until the end, and Washington had a chance. If they would have scored, Washington's defense was starting to come along a little bit, and it was
Yeah.
that last quarter was indicative of the whole game for Washington. It was like you're like 7/10 of the way there, but you just can't get that last little push. And it was like that on every play. It was like that during the games. It was like that on defense. It's like, oh, you're just missing something.
Yeah, no, that I agree with that because I never like it was weird because I felt like Michigan was in control. And that's back to what I was talking about earlier is like I couldn't understand why they weren't running it because I'm like, damn, if Washington's keeping it within 14 points right now, which is to me way different than 21 or even 17 points. And I was like,
Hmm.
if Washington scores right here to end the half, they get the ball out of half and like you can kind of go in
Yeah.
and say, hey, they like kicked our ass for the first half. We're down 7. We get the ball out, which is kind of what happened. And then
We have to talk
just
about that. Yeah. Then Michael
Michael
Penix, like,
Penix,
fluke interception. Like, Washington was there. And credit to the Michigan defense. They stepped up. They were in his face. The Michigan D line made a good Washington O line look subpar. And the
Yep.
Michigan DBs, while of course there were some big plays and guys open, I think played about as well as a game that you could have played against those receivers. Like,
Yeah, no,
yes, of course they're gonna have
those
their
guys are
yards,
gonna
they're
get
gonna have their
open, so
yeah. Like they
they
they, they
played
played well
excellent.
enough. It was, yeah. And on the Michigan side, I can joke about JJ McCarthy putting up a poor stat line, but I can laugh all I want, but it's not going to matter because Michigan's offensive line is like probably the best run blocking team I've seen in a while. Like probably since
One of those
I
Alabama teams, probably.
yeah, honestly, it's probably the last time that like Alabama won the Natty with like a no-name quarterback. It was probably the last run blocking team I've seen that's like better than this. Like they maul people, and credit to them. Like you said, surprised they just didn't keep doing that. It's like they had a completely different game plan in the second half. It didn't matter though because Washington just couldn't put anything together.
Yeah, and it was even like, and I even thought with Washington, like on those first two, specifically that first long touchdown run, that was, what was it? It was, it's also crazy that Blake Corum ended with more yards than Donovan Edwards. That's wild to me because Donovan Edwards had his first two carries for like 90 yards.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But that first one, honestly thought, I was like, because one of my buddies is a big Washington fan. I was like, honestly, if Washington would have just contained on that, they would have been fine. Everyone was inside the tackles. Everyone was where they needed to be. He just broke outside and there was no containment. But yeah, like Washington is, to me, shot themselves. And I think Michigan is better. I do think Michigan is better. But I think Washington shot themselves in the foot a lot. Like even when they had that big pass play in the fourth quarter, it gets called back for holding, false starts, just like, I don't know. The lights seemed a little too bright for a lot of their
It,
team.
it was a little bit of that, but at the end of the day, like you said, I chose Washington because I thought Penix was going to step up. I knew deep down that like Michigan's probably the more consistent team. I just thought it was going to be a classic Harbaugh Michigan mess up. I guess like Harbaugh finally got his win though. Harbaugh
How
he
happy
finally
are
got
all
it
those
done.
fans that wanted him fired in that like 2-4 or 2-5, whatever they were,
The
COVID
COVID
year?
year, yeah. Oh,
It just goes to show you. I
it was
mean,
receipt city on Twitter. Receipt, because any Michigan fan that would be like you suckers can eat it. Like it would be some random account like the group of five guys. I think quote Cheetah one be like, "This is you," and it was like the guy tweeted it's like, "Can we just fire Harbaugh now to get it over with?" In like 2021.
and I do think now, if you like really look back to the past few coaches who have won a national title, you have Harbaugh, who a lot of people wanted gone. A lot of people, and Georgia fans don't like to talk about this, wanted Kirby Smart gone when they kept losing to Alabama for a couple years and would blow those games. And a ton of people wanted Dabo Swinney gone, and now they kind of want him gone again, which I think is stupid. But I think,
And Coach O was gone. Coach O did get gone.
Right. Coach O is gone, and USC didn't want him. Like, and I'm not saying he would have won a national title at USC, but I think you're going to start seeing in a lot of cases, like smaller programs, it's a little different, I think, but these big time programs, Ryan Day, for example, a lot of people want him gone, and I do understand it, and I do think a lot of pressure is on that man, especially now that Michigan won. We'll see if Harbaugh comes back.
Also, a lot of pressure that a certain Tennessee Titans coach got fired.
Yeah, that is true. A former New England Patriot. But I do think you're going to start seeing teams, especially with NIL and stuff, having to pay these guys now. You're going to see guys get longer leashes because I do think sometimes, I think fans think, oh, in 1 or 2 years you should have the culture completely revamped. And it wasn't the case back then, but especially now with NIL and the transfer portal and stuff, it's going to take a couple years to build towards something. And coaches, sometimes they make the wrong hired offensive coordinator, wrong hired defensive coordinator. And yeah, they should be held accountable for that. And I'm not talking about coaches who go 5 and 7, like Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney, and Jim Harbaugh were, for the most part, winning 9-10 games a year. and guys, people still wanted him gone. And I think you're going to see less and less of that. Like, if it's like 9 years and you've won like most 9 games, okay, that's one thing. But being patient sometimes pays off, even if it doesn't pay off in the beginning and you have to sit through crappy years of getting killed by Ohio State or losing to Alabama or being at Clemson and losing to Florida State or whoever it is. Just be patient, because now Michigan would do anything to keep Jim Harbaugh. Georgia would do anything to keep Kirby Smart. I still think the majority of Clemson fans don't want Dabo Swinney gone. I think they think he needs to change up some stuff. Yeah.
Tyler from Spartansburg. Also,
we'll see.
Sorry. Did you also see Dabo Swinney with the black eye at the Clemson basketball game? Someone said Tyler got him. Someone said he found Tyler in the parking lot.
He has him as such a good program still. Like, Clemson fans just got to chill out. I think Dabo Swinney will figure it out.
Oh man, funny stuff. Yeah. Anything? I'm gonna get a couple of last points off. Do you have any last points, actual game related, before there was some funny stuff that we still have to bring up about the stuff surrounding this game that I saw? That's not anything game related about the Natty, but certain people we may have saw on camera, maybe some certain commercials that were excluded. So the last thing I'm gonna say is I was wrong. I'm man enough to admit it. I was not wrong about JJ McCarthy. I'm man enough and have too big of an ego to admit I was wrong about that and say he was going to play good, because I thought he did not. And I think Michael Penix, you saw the flaws in Michael Penix. I still think he's a first-round quarterback, but I think you saw his flaws in that game, which was that when he doesn't have a perfect pocket, he doesn't look like a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
He still looks good, but he doesn't look like the 10 out of 10. Zooch, anything else before I bring up something funny?
My last thing was, and I want to know your thoughts on this, because I didn't even know this was a thing until I was listening to a couple other shows on the way home from work last night. I had to work during the national title game. It wasn't great. Luckily, work was really slow, so we just were able to pretty much watch the game. But one of them I was listening to, and I didn't know this was a possibility, is there's rumors out there that should Jim Harbaugh leave and go to San Diego or Las Vegas or the Titans now, whoever it may be, that Michigan wants Kalen DeBoer to come there. Would that be how hated would Kalen DeBoer be by Washington fans? And I don't know if there's any like
that would be.
I think Michigan would hire the Sharon Moore, whatever it is, but
that would
make for some good off-season content.
So unreal, because they're conference mates now. Not only are you transferring within conference, Washington, if that happens, that is worse than the Lincoln Riley to USC.
Yeah.
And that would prove to a lot of the college football like haters of a change, being like, if Washington, a program that has a national championship in recent memory in the 90s, pumps out NFL players pretty consistently, has a huge fan base, a good stadium in a metropolitan area in a top 2 conference next year when they join the Big Ten. If they can't keep someone, who can?
Exactly.
Speaking of coaches that I can't keep my eyes off of, Tom Crean. We got a Tom Crean Cam. We got Tom Crean. I don't know if you guys saw. It was one of those pan-up shots coming back from break, and it was the guy in the glasses in the Michigan like pullover just staring blankly. And Tom Crean, I think, is like married to
like Jim Harbaugh's sister, right?
His sister, yeah. So what a fun family that would be. Tom Crean, John Harbaugh, and Jim Harbaugh. But yeah, the Tom Crean Cam killed me.
I love the Tom Crean Cam. I love like. I always love it, like, and it's happened in the past too. Like last night, after that pick that was almost a pick 6, where they got it down to like the 5-yard line or whatever it was. I love when, like, you can tell Kirk Herbstreit starts feeling bad for the other team, and he goes on his monologue about like they have nothing to hang their hat on. Like he's like, they don't have nothing. Washington's gonna be good. You got a good one in Kalen DeBoer. Like
also Kirk's on the hot streak. I don't know if you saw. But Kirk, there's a small but vocal uprising against Ben Herbstreit.
The
Kirk's
dog.
dog,
The
an
dog has
entire
gotten annoying.
it is a
They
cute dog.
overplay
It's
it.
a
They
cute dog,
overplay it.
but
Like
Bunky
I even
Perkins
think
was
Lane
not having
Kiffin
it.
overplays the uh, dog. But yeah, Bunky Perkins, Ole Miss legend. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it for me on the game. Like I enjoyed the game. I thought it was pretty entertaining. Like for the most part of the game, I always thought, yeah, Michigan's dominating, but I think Washington can still come back. Like if I was there as a Washington fan, I would have never thought. And even when they went up by 14, I would have been like, damn, like it's gonna be hard, but we just got to get down the field and score, like, and get a stop.
Yeah.
And like we can score, even if we get the ball back with 40 seconds, we can score. Once they got the pick down to the 5, then I was like, all right, this one's over. Like, start the hail to the victors chance. Like that's fine, but
Yeah, no, I mean Michigan, we may have created a monster in this Michigan winning a
oh, we have.
national championship. And yeah, that's the one thing is that yeah, Michigan, like if Alabama won, it wouldn't have created anything. It wouldn't have fed into anything. I mean, even I mean Texas may have been like a little monsterish, but Michigan, there is now two Big Ten monsters, Ohio State and Michigan.
I
So
did.
this
One last
is
funny thing about the game. Message board geniuses had a great one from Michigan State's message boards where somebody said, it's official. God is dead. After Michigan won the national title.
I love Message Board Genius. Also got reminded of watching when they flashed JJ McCarthy's dad. Was reminded of that awesome moment last year when he just like rubbed his finger on JJ McCarthy's girlfriend's butt last year in the Fiesta Bowl. So that was a fun one to remember. I love these. I love these big bowl games because it's the pageantry of like the Super Bowl. Like everything is like, oh my gosh, like it's the grandest of scales and the stadium's packed and all the pyrotechnics and the attention to detail about the entertainment aspect it is professional like, but it's still college football, so there's still weird stuff that happens like it would at a Tuesday night MAC game. And
Right.
so it's just like you could have all this funny, like all this crazy entertainment, all this stuff, and there's still just Tom Crean sitting there, like staring off into the distance. It's
The whole
incredible.
thing is funny because I was thinking about that last night, and I was like, if Boise State was in it, like I would go, you would go, we'd have friends who would go. And I was like thinking about planning that. And I was like, all right, I for sure would get there on Friday night because I want to be there the weekend and see like the different, like I have no idea off the top of my
I'd
head.
probably
Like
get there Friday or Saturday.
yeah, like what events they have and stuff like that. Yeah, Friday night, maybe Saturday afternoon or so, whatever time it is. But it's so funny to think about all these people go to a city like Houston that they would probably never go to outside of going to a sporting event. Like there'd be no reason to be like, you know what? Like no one says, I want to go visit Houston.
Also,
Like,
Houston, let's be real. Out of all the places that have a national championship, Houston is not walkable. It's
it's the hottest place on earth.
hottest place on earth.
I was just there in September and it was literally so hot. We had the AC in the hotel at like 68 and I was still sweating. And I am from Florida and that is the hottest place
I think the
Houston
best
is the
place
hottest
to
place.
have. I saw the Rose Bowl discussion, like best place to have it. I'm I'm from the West Coast. I think stadium wise, Rose Bowl is the best place to have it. But let's be real, it's the Superdome. I mean, downtown. I mean, New Orleans is right there.
Yeah,
The
you want to
Superdome's the
have it.
best place to have because you want it to be somewhat walkable. You want it to be like the most accessible to get to. Like the Rose Bowl Stadium's the best, but it's not anywhere close to downtown LA. It's not anywhere close to LAX. Like you
Right.
have to like mob out to Pasadena.
Yeah, and you want a
And I
place where
love the Rose Bowl.
it's like you want a place, in my opinion, that win or lose, like you can be like, all right, and New Orleans is perfect because you can be like, we're going to Bourbon Street, win or lose. After the game, we're gonna Uber over to Bourbon Street and either be really happy drinking or really sad and like scrolling our phone at Twitter and like getting mad at stupid stuff people say that we know they're just saying to annoy us. But like Houston, Indiana, like they've had it at Indianapolis, and I get it. Like they're these really nice state. Like I'm not saying the stadium itself isn't nice, but a lot of these cities you don't have somewhere like you do in New Orleans where it's like even Atlanta, it's like,
I'll be interested
all
to
right, where are
see
we gonna
how long
go?
it'll
But
take until they put it in Vegas.
Vegas, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is I think Vegas would be the perfect spot for it because you have you literally fly in. You don't to me Vegas is perfect because you fly in, you Uber to your hotel if you're staying on the Strip, and you do not have to worry about transportation again if you're staying on the Strip. You go to I think it's Mandalay Bay, which has the tunnel that goes to Allegiant Stadium. After the game,
Yep.
you walk back. There's bars, food, gambling if you want to do
Call it
that.
everything's a less than $25 Uber away.
Right,
So Zooch Wild hold national championships in walkable cities
exactly. The
or the
Final Four
Rose
is gonna
Bowl
be in
every
Vegas.
once in a
They
while.
have it figured out.
Oh yeah, big time. Last thing we're going to talk about is what do we think Harbaugh does next? What do we think? I personally think he's off to the NFL.
I really I think he's gonna stay. I think he's staying.
Oh, you
I
think
you to me right now, and I know they don't always think this way, but I just look at it as why would you leave? The NFL is going to be there
because
for the
he's a sicko.
foreseeable future.
He's a freak. He needs to satisfy everything. Like he's done everything at the college level, and he left the NFL with a bad taste in his mouth.
That's fair, and he has had success at the NFL, so I get it. He's been on the cusp of truly as close as you can get to winning a Super Bowl, besides maybe missing a field goal to win it at the end of the game or whatever. But I'm just like, dude, you're a mission. You win one more national title, and even right now, I think he's for the modern day Michigan fan, 90% of the people, not 90, but the majority of 40 years and younger people, they don't know who they know who Bo Schembechler is, but they don't really remember him coaching. They like Jim Harbaugh more than Lloyd Carr. They like him more than oh God, I can't think of his name. Oh my God.
Bad coach or good coach? Brady Hoke.
They liked him more than what's his face from West Virginia? I can't think of his name right now either.
Rich Rod.
Rich Rod. Just stay but I know that it's a competitiveness thing, and he'll want to go to the NFL. And even if he does leave, he's left Michigan in way better of a place than what he found it under Brady Hoke. So
I also think that, and I think, but it would be funny when Michigan fans, because I think he's leaving. I think he's going to either coach. If the Bears fire Eberflus, I think he's going to go to the Bears. Other than that, I think it's kind of like Chargers. I think if he wants to get back to the West Coast, and that's just what I think. There's no statistics backing that up whatsoever, but we'll see what happens. With Jim Harbaugh, it will. I mean, with Michigan's football program, it'll be so funny seeing that if Jim Harbaugh leaves and they hire that the offensive guy, it'll be so funny
Sharon
to see.
Moore,
Yeah, Sharon Moore. It'll be so funny to see Michigan fans who have made fun of Ryan Day for years about being born on third base, having Rashad Moore as their coach.
Well,
Isn't that ironic?
He did give a good post game interview when Jim Harbaugh died, so he can't
Yes.
can't forget about this.
Freaking love you, man. All time soundbite. Freaking love you, man. Like the awkward dap up with Blake Quorum. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so funny.
But yeah, I mean, it was a great season. I always enjoy college football. I don't
It
always
was
love all
really,
the
really fun.
changes with it. I have ups and downs with the transfer portal and this I don't love the conference realignment stuff. I understand it from a business point of view. I don't love it though, just because I think it's taking a little bit away from the game, but it's always has been and always will be probably my favorite sport to watch. I
mean, that's why we talk about it. This season has been it's been so much fun, getting to follow it in depth. I will say, because we really enjoyed it. I hope the people who listen enjoy us talking about it, because I harp on it every time. There's certain intricacies that you pick up, and it only takes a couple years of watching to pick up on these certain inside jokes that only college football fans get. And
Right.
certain accounts that if you watch college football are the greatest accounts ever. Like the obstructed views guy. No one knows it. Like, see, you know about the obstructed views guy, the
Exactly.
college football campus tour guy, like Bunky Perkins. Like, we know about these people.
Right.
Like
They make
these, and they make the sport awesome.
I would not even know that Danny Boy Kane existed
Yes,
without.
Danny Boy Kane, who again officially withdrew his name from the head coaching search.
Yes.
Also, how about Miami, man? Miami fans went from getting Cam Ward to getting an FCS guy who is good, I will say. But
It's much like how we discussed USC needs a white quarterback from LA. Miami needs to go back and just recruit guys from Florida that are. Miami wins games by having 285 penalty yards a game, and they would win like 49-3. Like, that's how Miami wins. Do that, and you'll be fine. But I do think their lines are going to be really good next year. But we will have some good off-season content to talk about.
We are, yeah. Yeah, so off season wise, since it is the off season, we will be going to an episode every 2 weeks now. So every 2 weeks, released anywhere between Wednesday and Fridays when those episodes will come out, and they'll be talking about, like we've said in the past, transfer portal, off season content, carousel, spring ball stuff, as well as talking a little college basketball. Zooch was at the Boise game, so we'll sprinkle a little college basketball in there too. Plus, don't be surprised if you see people who are not us in the offseason trying to fill it out with maybe some guest appearances as well as the other settled down guys. So we are really excited. I am going to miss talking CFB every week, but it's going to be nice to have a little break, I will say. And every other week will still be some fire stuff coming out.
Oh yeah, and like we're in this weird period where the season just ended. But we have to wait and see what happens with the NFL to see if there's really there's like a random NFL hire that you just don't see coming, where somebody, I don't even know who could leave, but like Sark goes to the Tennessee Titans or something like that.
If Steve Sarkisian goes to the Tennessee Titans, I will do a podcast shirtless because that is not in a million years happening. If Steve Sarkisian head coaches anywhere in the NFL, I will do a podcast shirtless. You heard it here first. Because Sark is going nowhere. He's going nowhere. He's staying at Texas.
All I want, and this will be my final thing, is he released a great soundbite this weekend. I need the quarterbacks who have won the national championship recently have been boring. I need a Jameis Winston type to win the national title again and just do something that is so absurdly stupid and funny that I could talk about it for weeks. We had Jameis changing a play.
Yes.
He said it was a team decision. And it has sent me back to the hilarious days of Jameis
dressing out on the suspension.
Legs, dressing on the suspension. It's a Jim Harbaugh thing. When he was meeting with Jim Harbaugh on the Gruden QB camp or whatever they called it, and Jim Harbaugh goes, "Have you ever been disciplined other than the crab legs or whatever?" He asked me. He's like, "I was disciplined once in high school when we lost the game, and I laughed at my coach because he cried."
I laughed at my coach.
I need a Jameis Winston type who just is unironically funny.
I'm trying to think of who that guy could be. They just don't make him like Jameis anymore. In the world of social media, when everything's got to be perfect and everything's microanalyzed, it's tough because the border between like Jameis Winston and Tate Martell is so thin, where you can just go from like being a prick to being like this great guy who's like, why are you saying that, Jameis? Like you're a good guy at heart, but like, why are you dressing out? Yeah, eating the W. Also, did you see? This is the last thing I say. Did you see him getting in the respect off with the reporter this week?
It was
respectfully. What do you think? Respectfully, the reporter's like, I think it was a poor sportsmanship play. Respectfully, I'm trying to be as respectfully as possible. It's like, well, respectfully, it was a team decision. These guys are just having a respect off.
And the best part about that interview was you could just tell Jameis Winston had they both could not understand each other's point of view. Like Jameis Winston was like, I can't believe this guy doesn't understand that we were at the 1 yard line and I wanted to score a touchdown. And the reporter was like, I can't believe he doesn't think this was kind of rubbing in their faces to score from the 1 yard line. But We will have some good off-season content. We're going to think of some ideas of little things to do because we have 9 months until week 0. So I don't even think they have any. Let's see. Nope, you can't even look ahead to. We'll see what week 0. I'll look up week 0 and then we'll sign
I can't
off.
wait to watch like a MAC team play like a Mountain West team, like Utah State at like 1 p.m. Like, it's just gonna. Oh,
Here we
it's
go.
gonna be perfect.
FBS week 0. Montana State at New Mexico.
Yep.
Florida State versus Georgia Tech in Ireland, and
Okay,
Eastern
not bad.
Illinois at Illinois.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I mean, okay, I'm gonna save my opinion on that Ireland game for later because we're gonna have a lot of time to fill. Thank you for everyone who has been listening to us this year, whether it be through the podcast or through the clips. I know a lot of people do like the clips on Instagram because they have been funny and they get to show when me and Zooch are super right and super wrong. So Zooch, anything else?
Nothing else. Looking forward to the off season, but looking even more forward to August 31st, 2024, or whatever the date is that college football starts again.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to that too. Godspeed, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.